Have you ever been invited to a traditional Chinese meal and found yourself unsure of what to do? Wondering how to use your chopsticks, when to make a toast, where to sit, or whether it's okay to leave food on your plate? Chinese dining etiquette can be a bit of a maze if you're not familiar with it. But don't worry, I'm here to guide you through all of it. In today's video, we're going to dive into the do's and don'ts of Chinese dining, helping you navigate through the cultural nuances and ensuring that you feel confident and polite at the dining table in any social and business situation when it comes to Chinese dining. Whether you're attending a family meal or a business banquet, these tips will serve you well. So without further ado, let's get started. In Chinese culture, dining is much more than just eating. It's about showing respect, and it's about building relationships. And the way you behave at the table can speak volumes about your manners and your understandings of the culture, even your upbringing. From business dinners to family gatherings, mastering dining etiquette can pave the way for stronger connections. Like other high-contact cultures, Chinese people place great importance on building relationships around the dining table. Whether you're dining in China or enjoying a Chinese meal abroad, knowing how to conduct yourself properly is essential. So, let's break down the key elements of Chinese dining etiquette that will help you leave a lasting impression in any situation. One of the first and most important things to know about Chinese dining etiquette is the respect for the elders. This is rooted deeply in Chinese culture, where honoring the elderly is seen as a sign of respect and maturity. Here's what you should keep in mind. Let the elders sit first. And that could also apply if this person is more senior than you. And if you're at a large gathering, the oldest person or the host will be seated first, and the rest of the guests should follow. When the dishes are served, it's polite to offer the elders the first serving. The host might also serve you, but it's a sign of respect to serve the elderly before yourself. Next, how to order by the host or hostess. So if you are the person hosting everyone, you should be the person responsible for ordering dishes for everyone. And when we're ordering food, what we don't have to always ask is, what do you like to eat? But rather, do you have any dietary requirement? Is there anything that you cannot eat? And then let the person tell you. Seating etiquette. In Chinese culture, seating arrangements are taken very seriously, and they usually reflect respect and hierarchy. So where you sit can say a lot about your relationship with the host and other guests. At a large Chinese meal, the host will usually sit at the head of the table, which is usually the seat that is the furthest away from the entrance, and we have round tables always. You, as the guest, should be seated accordingly. If you're the guest of honor, you will have to sit to the right side of the host, and the second most important guest would sit to the left of the host. And if you're in a business setting, always wait for your host to indicate where you should sit, as this shows respect for their customs. And what you also want to consider is to avoid sitting in the most prominent seats unless you're invited. So if you're ever in doubt, ask your host for guidance. Next, the proper use of chopsticks. While it may seem a very simple utensil, there are so many rules surrounding the proper use of chopsticks in Chinese dining, and here's what you need to know. First of all, we never stick chopsticks upright into a bowl of rice. This might seem like an innocent mistake, but in Chinese culture, it resembles the incense used in ancestor worship and is considered very unlucky. And also, don't ever point your chopsticks at others or wave your chopsticks when you're speaking. And just like other utensils, chopsticks should be treated with respect. So never spear your food with chopsticks or use them to pass food directly from one person's chopstick to another person. This is also considered impolite. If you're not using your chopsticks, you want to place them neatly on the chopstick rest. Chopsticks are meant to reflect the balance and control, and using them properly shows your appreciation for this tradition. And here is the proper way to use chopsticks. First, we open our palm and place the first chopsticks under the root of the thumb and the other part resting on your ring finger. And for the top chopstick, we're going to hold it like we're holding a pen with the first 3 fingers. And we only want to move top chopsticks when we're using it. Sharing the dishes. Chinese meals are usually served family style in a round table with a lazy Susan in the middle so that everyone can access the dish. All the dishes are placed in the center of the table for everyone to share. This promotes the spirit of community and togetherness, and we believe that things that are round symbolizes unity. And here's a few things that you should remember. When we're taking the dishes, use serving spoons. It's polite to use a serving spoon provided or serving chopsticks. And also, take small portion at a time. Don't pick up all the pieces and pick the best. Pick what's closest to you. And it's also considered impolite if you want to overfill your plate. And taking small portions is very important so that everyone can enjoy the dishes. Offering food to others. If you're eating with a group, it's generally considered courteous to offer others the food first when the dishes are in front of you. So you want to share the food and offer the food to others before serving yourself. Sharing food symbolizes unity, so don't hesitate to engage with others on the table and offer them some food. Another thing to keep in mind are the order of dishes. As you probably know, Chinese meals usually consist of so many dishes and so many different courses. And the first few dishes are usually served cold. These are appetizers. And then after that, we'll be serving the warm dishes in bigger portions. After the hot dishes, including fish or meat, we will have things like noodles or dumplings to end the meal. We don't usually have dessert. And sometimes you'll be served with the fruit platter at the end of the meal. Now we've covered the basics, let's dive into some of the specific dining behaviors that show good manners. Obviously, do not talk with your mouth full. This is standard etiquette everywhere, but it's especially important in Chinese culture. It shows respect for your food and those around you. And another thing is that avoid making any slurping noises when you're eating. Some people used to ask me, well, in Asia, don't you have to make noises to show respect for the chef? And I can tell you, absolutely not true. Do not make any noise when you're eating noodles or soup in Chinese culture. In some cultures, slurping might be acceptable, but in Chinese culture, absolutely inappropriate. Also, don't reach over others' bowls or plate for food, and try to avoid reaching over someone else's food. Instead, ask them to pass it on to you if it's within their reach. Also, be very mindful of your posture. Sit up straight and avoid resting your elbows on the table or slouching, because this could appear unrefined. And remember, these small gestures demonstrate your politeness and awareness for the social norms around you. Paying the bill. Paying the bill in Chinese dining can be a bit of a tricky situation, and here are the rules. If you are the host, you're expected to pay. We don't really like to go Dutch and split the bill in general. In most Chinese dining settings, the host usually pays for the entire meal for everyone. It's a sign of generosity and hospitality. If you're invited as a guest, don't try to pay for the meal outright. You could possibly offer to pay as a polite gesture, but the host would very often typically insist on covering it all. And in Chinese culture, we don't usually tip, unlike in Western cultures. Traditional dishes and symbolism. Chinese dining isn't just about eating, it's also about the symbolism. Each dish carries its own special meaning, often tied with luck, wealth, prosperity. For instance, during Chinese New Year, we always make sure that there is some sort of fish dish because fish symbolizes abundance and prosperity and is often served at the end of the meal to represent a surplus in the coming year, because the pronunciation of the word fish is the same as the word surplus. And dumplings are usually eaten during Chinese New Year to symbolize wealth, and they're usually in the shape of ancient Chinese gold ingots. Longevity noodles are eaten on birthdays or special celebrations to represent long life. When dining, you probably notice that some of the dishes are carefully chosen to convey good dishes and positive energy for everyone at the table. And here's another thing. When we're ordering a number of dishes, always make sure they're in even numbers, not in odd numbers, for good symbolization. A symbol of respect and connection. And one of the most important rituals at a Chinese dining table is the toast. And I'm going to tell you so much about it. In Chinese culture, toasting isn't just about drinking. It's a way to express respect, build a relationship, and even show humility. At the start of the meal, you might be invited to raise your glass for a toast. And this is the moment where it's really important to pay attention to the hierarchy at the table. The person who's hosting, or the most senior person, would usually make the very first toast. And you should always offer your glass with your right hand or both hands when you're toasting as a sign of respect. We never use the left hand to toast. And it's also customary to make eye contact when you clink glasses with the other person. And maybe you notice something else. When you're toasting with someone that are more senior than you or older than you, it's customary and respectful to lower your glass when you're clinking glasses. Another important note, when you're clinking glasses, it's polite to tilt your glass slightly, not just make a very solid clink. It's a way to show humility. And if you're in a business setting, it's common to have so many toasts throughout the meal, but you don't want to rush them through it. During the meal, you take small sips after each toast. You don't drink everything in the glass straight away. You only drink when there is a toast. You don't take a sip when you're eating. So after all the major toasts are done, it's time to make some individual toasts to important people. And when people toast to you, it's usually polite to return their toast. And unlike in Western culture, when people toast to you, you do drink. But in Western culture, when people toast to you, you do not drink. Here's another thing. Don't rush your toast. The Chinese toasts are usually really thoughtful and deliberate. Whether you're a host, a colleague, or a new acquaintance, each toast is an opportunity to strengthen the relationships. So I suggest you to learn some lucky words to say when you're toasting in Chinese meal, because it's actually a bit of an art when it comes to toasting in Chinese. Finishing the meal. As the meal draws to a close, it's important to understand how to show respect by not finishing every last bit on your plate. Because in Chinese culture, leaving a little bit of food behind signifies that you're satisfied and that you didn't overeat. However, avoid leaving too much because it should be a little bit of a subtle sign, not an obvious one. One last tip. If you're offered a second helping, feel free to decline politely a few times before accepting it. It shows humility and respect for the host's generosity. In Chinese culture, we generally like to leave some food in the plate because if you finish everything on your plate, it really just shows that your host has not fed you enough, and that's the last thing they want. To sum it all up, Chinese dining etiquette is all about respect. Respect for the food, respect for people at the table, and traditions that make every meal a chance to connect with people. Whether you are at a business dinner or a casual family gathering, knowing these key customs will ensure that you make a great impression. So, the next time you sit down for a Chinese meal, you'll not only enjoy the incredibly delicious food, but you'll also get to leave a lasting impression on everyone around you. And here's the thing, you never know what doors of opportunities will be open for you around the corner. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a thumb up and leave a comment and subscribe for much more amazing content like this in the future. Culture, etiquette, self-improvement, and everything in between. I can't wait to see you in the next video.